Hey friends, welcome back to a new episode of The Life of a Makeup Artist. We have none other than Dr. Shireen Idriss with us. I know this is not the first time we met, but it feels like it because we met on Clubhouse, which
Years
feels
ago.
like a lifetime ago.
But I feel that's how I know you.
Right, that's how we met.
1,000,000%.
But I feel like this is the first time we're actually having like a real one-on-one conversation. So I'm very excited. Now, if you don't know who Dr. Shireen is, she is a board-certified dermatologist and the founder of her own line. But we're going to learn all about that today. Dr. Shireen, how are you?
Good. Thank you for having me. This is very, very profesh. The whole
I love
setup
it. I mean,
is-
we have to have the best for the best.
Oh, thank you very much. This is like way better than I ever, so I'm very, very honored.
Well, thank you for making the time. If you don't mind, if you want to introduce yourself to our new friends, to your new friends.
So I am Shireen. I am a dermatologist and I work in New York City. And I am the founder of PillowtalkDerm, the skincare line, which started off as a social media series. So this was like a fluke byproduct of the series.
Right.
But yeah.
I love that. Okay, but I want to talk about all things skin, but how has life been treating you? How are you doing?
The
I
same
know it's
way
always
you're doing, which is going crazy, like
How's
a chicken
life?
without a head.
Yeah, because your line is how old now? It's not even a year, is
It's
it?
going to be a year in September, October.
Right. So how
Which
is
is
like
wild.
you're a new founder, you have
It's
a
been
lot going on.
Yeah. So I have two little kids. I have a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old. And so those are like my number one.
Right.
But we launched the skincare last September and I opened my office the September before.
Right.
So it's been truly like a whirlwind for
Right.
the past 2 years. But I like to be busy.
Right.
I'd much rather be busy than
Right.
the opposite. So
Right.
I'm not complaining.
Right. I love that. So before we get into, the Pillow Talk Derm and all the skincare questions that I have a lot. I want to know, like, how did you start? Like, obviously you went to school and you all of that, but were you always interested in becoming a dermatologist?
No, actually. I always wanted to become a doctor, 100%, but I actually applied to medical school from high school and got in high school with the goal and dream of becoming a plastic surgeon.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's really what I wanted to do. And because I love working with my hands, I would basically cut up sculptures and puzzles and do things all day and weird stuff. My parents were like, what's up with this kid? But that's sort of what my ambition really was. And then my sister, who's my middle sister, had some really like bad case of eczema in my second year of undergrad. And I went with her to the dermatologist. I was like, this is like a pimple popper. I'm not interested,
right.
not my jam. But the second I went in, it was like a light bulb went off.
Wow.
Because here was a patient who saw what was wrong with her. So she didn't, no doctor had to convince her that she has diabetes,
Right.
which you don't see.
Right.
Like she saw it. She wanted to get better. And on top of it, they had all of these treatments and all of these lasers and devices and things that they were doing
Right.
that can help the patient feel better and more confident and look better. So it's not a one-hit wonder. You're not like just doing something and then having the person walk out,
Right.
one and done. And you're actually working and growing with your patient. And
Right.
so at that moment, it was really like something switched and I decided to switch gears.
Wow.
So I was probably like 19 when I decided I wanted to go into derm.
How long is this school though? It's a lot. Wow.
12 years. I'm 89, but I look good.
That's the SPF and the Pillow Talk Derm, okay? Okay, so
And some injections here and there. Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Same. So I want to talk Pillow Talk Derm because you mentioned earlier that it started off as a social media series, and I've been on quite a few of those lives. Can you talk about like what made you decide that it was time to have your own line?
Yeah. I mean, before even the line, the series started in 2018.
Oh wow.
So it was 5 years. It's actually hitting 5 years in July. So it started before the pandemic. It started before all these derms were on social. And it started as it was a dare by a nurse of mine because I had a really bad fear of public speaking. And I was sick of hearing all of these people repeat like falsities that they're hearing
Right.
online in the office. So all day,
Right.
every day, I'm on repeat.
Right.
Same thing. And at the end of the day, I was like, Brittany, I'm sick of this shit. Like everyone's always coming in with the same
Get out of
crap.
mouth.
Like, and I'm on repeat. And
Right.
she's like, stop complaining.
Right.
Go on Instagram, do a couple of stories,
Right.
bust the myth,
Right.
Get over it.
Right.
And I was like, but I can't speak on Instagram. I've never actually recorded myself.
Right.
And I have like this real fear. And she's like, get over yourself. Just do it.
Right.
So it was like a dare. And so that night I ended up going on Insta, and that's how it started.
Right.
And that one story.
This was before even TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok wasn't even,
No,
2018 was
did not even exist.
Yeah.
And literally that story just, like, I had like 300 followers. A couple of people came in. My friends, my cousins were like, are you drunk? And I'm like, no. And then it snowballed.
Right.
And then it became its own thing. And now we have like over 1 million different nerds across TikTok,
Right.
Instagram, and YouTube.
Right.
And it wasn't until 2020 when I was sick with COVID, locked up in my
Right.
bedroom for 2 weeks, because we were at that point
Right.
locked up for 2 weeks.
Right.
There was no vaccine. I was a little delusional. There was some skincare scandal at the
Right.
time that happened.
Oh Lord.
We don't need to talk about
yeah,
which one.
no. There's
And
too many. I can't
was,
even
honestly,
remember.
I was bored and I was like, on Instagram, I'm sick of this shit.
I love
Should we
that.
start a skincare line? And I
Right.
didn't think anyone, like I didn't think it would be anything.
Right.
But literally, I think it was over 10,000 people voted yes. And at that point, I was like, oh shit, we're on to something. I
Right.
was kind of toying with the idea in the back of my
Right.
mind, and I had a chemist that I was kind of talking to. But I didn't want to commit because I was just like, I don't know, I just want to see what it's about.
Right.
But when I saw that, I literally called the lawyer and signed the paperwork the next day. And I called my husband, who was downstairs, and I was like, so we're starting a skincare line, and I signed the lease on the office. It happened like literally
That's
within a few days while I was locked up in my room.
But I love how quick you made the decision, though, because sometimes, we're like, I don't know, I have to
Analysis
think about it.
paralysis.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Life's too short.
Yeah, because I would have never thought that you were scared to be on camera, because the way how you would be on camera is just like you pull out your phone, you're literally laying in
But
your
I
bed, you're
think-
laying on your couch, and I love that.
Because I feel like I'm on FaceTime. So
Right.
for me, it's like I'm talking to my sister or my family or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
I love this for you.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet.
So, okay, so I feel like skincare in general, obviously in 2020, I feel like everyone became a skincare expert. And just in general, I think because of social media, we're more savvy to what we choose. But I think just due to the sheer number of options, I think it can be overwhelming. So what advice would you give to someone trying to navigate like the sea of products if they're trying to figure out a routine for themselves?
Okay, FOMOS, fear of missing out on skincare, is a real thing.
Yeah.
And
I know.
ignore the noise, okay?
I'm like, I need that glow recipe on my face. My skin doesn't need it.
Your skin doesn't need it. And I think the biggest thing that you can do for yourself is to truly focus your skincare need on your skin's biggest problem.
Right.
Whether that is dry skin or hyperpigmentation or fine lines or rosacea redness. Like, try to pinpoint what your biggest issue is and start there with a very streamlined and solid routine.
Right.
And then grow from there.
Right. So not 10 steps to start with.
No. Like, it's the days of 10 steps, like,
Right.
over.
Really?
Like, you don't need a 20-step skincare routine. You really don't. Maximum I go is between like 3 to 5 at most.
Okay. Do you
At
think
most.
people are like putting too many things on their face?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Too many redundant things. And they don't, even though they're more educated, you will still find a lot of people who don't know what toner is, because toner means
Right.
nothing. And all of a sudden you realize they're using salicylic acid in their toner, and then they're using it in their face wash, and
Right.
then they're using it in a pad. And all of a
Right.
sudden their face is blown up all
Right.
over the place. And they're like,
and you
why?
don't know why.
It's because they're overdoing the same thing a million times over.
I love that. Now I'm like, oh, I gotta go home and check my.
Are you using salicylic acid? Like
no,
in
no,
the
no,
later-
I'm not
okay.
actually. No, but okay. So I want to go a little bit deeper now, because we mentioned PillowtalkDerm, and I want to talk about some of the ingredients, the star ingredients in your products, because obviously, like you spoke about salicylic acid, and there's certain things where people are kind of obsessed with one ingredient like hyaluronic acid, your favorite.
I'm
Your
gonna
favorite
say
ingredient.
the star ingredient that's missing from PillowtalkDerm is there's no hyaluronic acid in any of my products.
Okay, so I want to talk about that, and then I do want you to talk a little bit more about the products, just because, I love them.
So yeah, no, for sure. I mean, so the humectant of choice across the products is glycerin. Because glycerin is, in my opinion, a superior humectant with minimal irritation compared to hyaluronic acid.
Right.
Hyaluronic acid over time, especially if it's a low molecular weight HA, can become a little bit inflammatory.
Really?
And you
I
see
didn't know
that in
that.
people who are very fair in their complexion, they get red, they get a little bit, it looks tight. I see it day in and day out in my practice.
Right.
And so I wanted to create a line that was free of HA because you're going to get it in some other product because no one's going to stick to one brand for their whole routine.
Right.
It's a given. So that was first and foremost. But I started off with the purple, the trio, and that's the major fade line. And these 3 are basically my 11-step skincare routine distilled into 3 steps.
I love
because
that.
I really had bad hyperpigmentation and melasma when I had my son. And it was very like debilitating mentally to all of a sudden come home from the hospital and not recognize your own face.
Right.
Plus the hormonal, shifts of postpartum.
Right.
So I had like a crazy 10-step routine, which took forever. I was never going to stick to it. That I basically was
you're like consistent for 2 weeks and you're like,
I'm over this.
And then you're like, what
I'm
the
done.
hell?
And the baby's crying, got to go feed him.
Yeah.
So I was like, what are the most important ingredients that we can use and how can we make it make sense in a 3-step process? So in this one, which is the flash mask, it's an exfoliating acid mask. So it has glycolic and lactic acid at very high percentages. So both of those, especially lactic, is geared towards discoloration. But it's married to tranexamic acid, which is very interesting because they're not usually married in a product. So it helps to calm the melanocyte down, so it stops hyperproducing.
Right.
And then the hyper serum is the powerhouse. This has all of the goodies that you need, which is basically kojic acid, arbutin, licorice root. There is niacinamide in here. There's another very interesting ingredient.
What is arbutin?
Arbutin is a precursor to hydroquinone.
Okay.
So it's not hydroquinone. It's much quieter than hydroquinone.
Right.
But it's very effective.
Right.
There's also...
Because that could be very damaging.
Hydroquinone, there's a lot of myths and misconception around. Yes. And it's sad because if you have melasma, you need hydroquinone. And the fear factor around it is not helping a lot of people.
Right. I think what happened is because, I mean, even me growing up and going to the beauty supply store, like all of those whitening products, it literally was just hydroquinone. And it's just like, I'm going to stay away from that. So,
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And I also the marketing and how much they would push it and the percentages. It's you shouldn't go above a certain percent.
Right.
And the issue with hydroquinone is you have to take breaks. The goal is not to your work, like you're not trying to whiten.
Right.
You have to try to suppress how much you're producing.
Right.
And when anybody can hyperpigment, regardless of your skin tone.
Right.
So if you are somebody who's prone to that, you want to keep it suppressed periodically over time, especially if it's like a hormonal imbalance, like with melasma. So that's hydroquinone. And then the moisturizer had vitamin C in it because everyone thinks vitamin C is for brightening, but alone it doesn't do much.
Right.
It has to be married to everything.
I love that. Yeah. Okay, but you have a new product.
Yeah, this little guy.
Yes.
This is the depuffer, which was born from my practice. Basically, I do a lot of injections at work, and a lot of people get a lot of swelling, puffiness, bruising, etc. So I thought to myself, what can I do to help them with a serum, but that can also mechanically help them as well?
So after filler, I can use this.
100%. But it helps really to help depuff. Within 5 minutes, it will help bring swelling down, and it helps to reduce the look of redness. So people who have rosacea, who get flushed on their cheeks, if they're not into injections, it's a great one.
So
if you use
think
it twice a day.
So you can twice a day. You would use it twice a day, and it's fine on their makeup.
Oh yeah, 100%. But you just have to make sure that you don't overdo it.
Right.
Light squeeze. You can even take the roller out.
Right.
And squeeze like a drop, and then roll.
Right. Oh, okay.
So the roller comes on and off.
Okay. So my question is, are we going to get SPF?
Soonish.
Soonish.
SPF, listen, SPF, I want it to be, it's in the works. It takes a lot of time and a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to just white label, which nothing wrong with white labeling, but it's not what I do. I've actually formulated everything from scratch with my own chemist.
Wow.
So I want to make something that's my own, and I want to make sure that I'm making it right. So I'm taking my time with it before I fully go into the SPF.
Right. Well, and that's understandable. Products take a while. Okay. So I want to get into some TikTok viral skincare moments.
Okay.
And, every day there's a new trend on TikTok, but I want to know your thoughts on skin cycling. I haven't done it. Have you done it?
No.
I was like, I keep seeing this thing. I'm like, do I need to be doing that?
Okay. The thing with social media is that when you coin a term, God bless you for coining a term.
Right.
It's great. It's going to help you spread that message across.
Right.
The whole point of skin cycling is basically consistency over intensity.
Right.
So if you can only tolerate a retinol twice a week, that is much better than trying to do it every single day.
Right.
And so I think that's what the whole skin cycling is trying to preach, is like you go 1 day on, 2 days repair, blah, blah, blah. But it's overly complicated.
Right.
Because not everybody just needs it for 2 days a week.
Right.
It depends how much you can tolerate. So if your tolerance is basically 4 days a week, great.
Right.
If your tolerance is every night, God bless. And if
Right.
it's only once a week, that is okay.
Right.
But consistency over intensity is the name of the game.
Yeah.
But I don't follow the skin cycling.
Yeah, because
routine.
I'm like, who comes up with the schedule?
It's a dermatologist, God bless her, and she's a very
oh,
well-respected
really?
one. And she
I didn't even know that, because so
Yeah.
many people talk about it. So I'm like,
because it just became a thing.
Right.
It became its own little life.
oh, that's interesting. Okay, well, I want to know. Well, we all know that price is not indicative of quality, right? And you spoke about this $5 product that people sleep on for acne, and I want to know about that, because obviously, as a makeup artist, I am not a derm, and I tell people, listen, go to derm, go on Dr. Shireen's page. But sometimes I have clients who might have acne that might ask me for advice, and it's always good to know good products.
Yeah.
And you spoke about this recently on your TikTok. Can you delve into it a
So
little?
this is a brand called, I think it's De La Cruz, and it's a sulfur cream. Now, sulfur has been around for centuries.
Right.
Like Egyptians, Romans, Greeks
Right.
would use sulfur. But your face stinks. Like if you want to lose a guy in 10 days, that's how you lose a guy in 10 days. You whip
Stinks
out.
like what, though? 'Cause
Like it's sulfur. I mean, it doesn't smell great.
right.
But it will really dry out any sort of breakout. I actually had a pimple yesterday here, and I put it on it overnight.
So I could
It's gone.
replace my all those lotions and stickers and just do.
I wouldn't throw them out just yet, but it's
Right.
$5. You might as
Right,
well try it. Worth an investment.
Right, right.
It's something that you can easily throw in, especially if you have rosacea and that sort of like reactive redness.
Right.
It helps if you're oily and you get those like juicy pimples because you're super oily.
Right.
Putting it on the spots can also be very helpful.
And you leave it overnight.
It says 10 minutes. I left it on overnight. We live on the edge.
Yeah. Well, I never tried it, so just in case.
Maybe 10 minutes. the
Yeah,
first
maybe
time.
10 minutes.
But you shouldn't be allergic to any sulfur medication. If
Oh.
you have any sulfur allergy, avoid like the
it.
plague.
Okay.
Yeah, or COVID.
So I myself have eczema, and I know that it is exacerbated in hot and cold weather, because I have a little patch here right now.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone that is dealing with eczema during these, like hotter months?
It's tricky.
Yeah.
But this is where you really have to really baby and pamper your face and your
Right.
skin. Less is more. Less makeup is probably better.
Feel
Because
attacked.
I know, so sorry. But your face, you don't need makeup. Your face is like perfect. You don't need anything. Like just a little mascara, sure.
You're
but,
right.
like, you don't
Because I was
need-
in Trinidad. I was in Trinidad for visiting family, and I felt like there was a point in time where around, because that's where my eczema is, around my mouth, and I felt like my face was on fire. And I've felt that before, but I was like, damn, like I need to put my face in front of an AC or something
It's
to
like
keep it cool.
Less is more.
Right.
And you want to really just restore your barrier, not go crazy. Anything that's going to basically hydrate your skin and keep it nice and like moist is not
Right.
like a good word, but moist.
Right.
Vaseline, simple things,
Really?
being very simple. And then steroids also have a bad rep on TikTok, but using a topical steroid that is prescribed very periodically in short amounts can also help, because you want to kill that scratch itch cycle.
Right.
And if you don't kill it, it's going to perpetuate.
And it's going to get bad.
Exactly. And you don't want to hyperpigment.
Right. Well, I already kind of did, but I covered it with makeup.
You did a great job.
Thanks.
It looks really good. Don't
Like
wear the makeup.
unclockable. Thank you. So I have another question. How do you differentiate between psoriasis and seborrheic dermatitis?
It's a very good question, but there are two conditions that kind of look alike and can coexist, which makes it
Right.
even more complicated. But both of them can appear like scaly plaques, especially on your scalp.
Right.
And there are all these people on TikTok who love to pull them off their scalp. It's weird.
Wow.
But one of my best reaction videos is to somebody who's pulling off a plaque of psoriasis off her
Right.
scalp. But they look alike, and so it is confusing, but they have different root causes. Psoriasis is an autoimmune issue where your skin is sort of over reproducing and not kind of reproducing fast enough, and
Right.
so it starts sticking. Whereas seborrheic dermatitis is due to a yeast that is causing like that dandruffy kind of look.
Right.
But again, different issues. So seborrheic dermatitis, you want to treat with an antifungal, whereas psoriasis, you want to treat with a topical steroid or something that calms your immune system down.
Right.
You know, like an immunomodulator, which is a prescription, or even a systemic medication.
Right.
But usually with psoriasis, you have other signs. It affects your, elbows, your knees. You can get joint pains.
Right.
You can get little tiny pits in your nails.
Right.
Whereas
Because I know those areas are also the common areas for eczema as well. So
exactly.
it can get confusing for some people.
That too. But with eczema, if you have it as a kid, it's usually in the opposite, and then it changes as you get older.
Yeah, because it's definitely better. I don't have it in those areas as much.
Exactly. So that history makes a difference.
Right. Well, so those people who have been picking at the scales in their hair, what would you recommend? Because obviously that would make it worse, no?
100%.
Yeah.
But if you have any sort of like obsessive tendency,
right,
it's very rewarding,
right,
to pull it out because
then
I got it.
Yeah.
But there's something called a Kebner phenomena, which means that it can spread and get worse. So it can actually further inflame the whole situation.
So you would need to do like a shampoo for...
Yeah. Topical treatment.
Okay. So for the 30s and 40s crew, that will be us. What do you think are some of our biggest skincare mistakes? I feel like everybody is going to be like, not putting on SPF, but like, what would you say we should be doing?
Well, I just have 2 new YouTube videos out.
Oh, really?
Yep. There is a skincare in your 30s and a skincare in your 40s that we've done.
Okay. So for 30s,
for 30s.
Should I be using tretinoin? I feel like all these ingredients.
Okay, before we jump in, your age is not a skin type.
Right.
And even if you're in your 30s or your 40s, there's a lot of overlap. And I think you want to really base it on what is your biggest thing that's bothering you, like we talked about. But tretinoin, you could start from your teens for different reasons.
Right.
So you being on a retinol or a tretinoin, if you can tolerate it, for sure should be started to be incorporated in your 30s if you haven't already.
Right.
So that's definitely at the top of the list. And then making sure you're exfoliating regularly, which is also not very common because people overdid it in 2020, 2021, and then they decided no longer to exfoliate.
Right.
But finding just the right balance. Maybe it's
and the 2000s with the apricots.
Oh my God, the St. Ives. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So just finding that right balance for you, and then incorporating some sort of, peptide cream for your neck and chest to start thinking about this area.
Right.
Because we oftentimes overlook this in our 20s and 30s.
Right. I always think about my hands too, because I've always had like I was premature, so I don't know, but it was always like this. I put more SPF on my hands now.
On your hands?
Yeah.
You have good hands.
Yeah. But it's like very
Because of the eczema, do you feel?
I don't think it's eczema. I don't know. It's always like been like this since I was a child.
What do you put on your hands?
Just SPF and like hand cream, but that's
Which hand cream?
Whatever I grab.
No,
I don't have a special one. I just
what's great?
What?
Be shocked. O'Keeffe's.
What's that?
It's great. They sell it even at Home Depot.
Really?
If they sell it at Home Depot for your hands, it's good.
Okay, we're gonna put it in the show notes for those of you who are wondering.
They even sell it at CVS and doing it everywhere. But it's a very, very good hand lotion, and it's called Working Hands.
Oh,
it's great.
Okay, I'm gonna get that
because everyone loves that Neutrogena Norwegian formula, but it's too greasy for me.
Oh,
and I don't love that constant slip.
Right.
But the O'Keeffe's is excellent.
Okay, I'm gonna check that out.
And then another thing you could do.
What?
Do not laugh. You take that flash mask. You put it on your hands.
And then take it
Let
off.
it sit for like 20, 30 minutes, then wash your hands, and then put the O'Keeffe.
Because my hands is always too in like brush cleaner, alcohol, like
try
all
to
this stuff.
Exfoliate it,
yeah.
And then moisturize. And see.
Okay. Anything else?
For your hands?
Just in general.
Oh.
Like,
I was like, that's a lot.
I'm like, yeah, no.
I was like, how much are you
exactly.
on your hands? Not really.
Yeah. So I have a question though. So there's a product that I love the consistency of. It's a barrier cream from Cocoa Kind.
Okay.
So if you're using, like, some people, like one of my friends, for example, she broke out and she's trying to like fix her skin, right? So where would you put a barrier cream? Would you put it before your moisturizer, or would you put, like, where does that fit in?
So it's a very good question. Very good question.
Because I feel like there's a lot of products now that says barrier repair.
Because it's a buzzword.
Okay.
However, you have to think of your skin in the environment that you're in. If it's hot and it's humid,
right,
she's not going to need a moisturizer and a barrier cream. it's kind of redundant.
Right.
And a barrier cream is a moisturizer,
Right.
by the way.
And some of them have a consistency of like a serum too.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it really depends.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're in a very humid environment, less is more,
Mm-hmm.
and less occlusive, meaning less thick and ointment-like, is
Right.
better. When you're in a very dry environment, you can load it up.
Right.
Serum, moisturizer, barrier, like ointment.
Right.
But it usually comes last.
Right.
Because if it's something like a barrier repair, you're thinking it's thicker in consistency. You're
Right.
thinking it's more of an ointment, etc.
Right. And it's something you could use at night.
Yeah. But Cocoa has a barrier ceramide thing,
Yes.
which is a serum.
Right.
It's very lightweight.
Yeah. I actually really love it.
I like that one too.
Yeah.
And it's glycerin based.
Mm.
So there's no HA.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, okay, I love all the advice that you have given us. And, you know, as a pro makeup artist that also creates content, you know, life, like we spoke about, could get really hectic. It's two jobs, right? And I want to know, what would be your advice for others who have like a main, it doesn't even have to be someone in our industry, but anyone who has like a main source of income and then they're trying to also create content on the side? Because I mean, you made it sound so easy. You're like, you know, what is it? What did you call it? Oh gosh, what did you call it? What is it called? Sorry. Oh gosh, help me.
Wait, I don't know what you're talking about.
Wait, when you were saying, oh gosh.
Pillow talk?
No, not pillow talk. When you overanalyze something.
Analysis paralysis.
Okay, yes. Oh my God. Okay,
Yeah.
so you were talking about analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to do it. But what advice would you give to those who are trying to like
Okay, you're
do
going to
more
laugh
content?
at me.
What?
But I was telling Tiffany, I watched the 4th series of Arnold Schwarzenegger's like docuseries that just came out. And very honestly,
Really?
I never thought anything of that man, but I
Right.
kind of like him from watching this little docuseries. And he's right. He's like, no one gives a shit if you're tired. No one gives a shit if you're having a bad day. The world is not going to end.
Right.
If you have a goal, just keep pushing forward.
Right.
And if your goal is to become a content creator, even though you have a day job, don't feel pity for yourself.
Right.
Because no one else is going to feel pity for you.
Right.
Get up and just do the work and get it done.
Right.
And if it really brings you joy, you're going to keep doing it. So there are days, of course, where I'm like, I don't want to do this. But ultimately, those are in the minority. And I enjoy doing it much more than I don't enjoy doing it. So
Right.
that's why I just keep pushing through. And it's at the end, it's the same thing, consistency
Right.
over intensity. You're not
Right.
trying to burn yourself out.
Right.
So just try to kind of weave it into your daily routine, or your
Right.
daily routine rather. And don't feel bad for yourself if you find yourself working till midnight. Because
Right.
ultimately, if that's what you want,
Right.
just try to get it done and
Yeah.
keep working towards it.
Yeah, I agree. That's great advice. And also, I feel like not beating up yourself if you have an off day or
Of
if you miss a
course.
day or anything like that, because it's just like, okay, the world is not going to come to an end.
It's
You'll
not
be
going
fine.
to come to an end.
Yeah.
And you have to know when you have to push yourself, and you have to know when you have to give yourself some time off.
Right,
But again, it's the long road. It's a long game. It's a marathon. It's not a race.
right. I love that.
Yeah. I mean,
It's-
it's been
it's
5
tough.
years I've been doing pillow talks.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to last maximum a week of me answering questions. Like, I literally was like,
Every time I go on Instagram, I see Dr. Shireen on her bed. I'm like, oh my God. But it was so informative. And I think the fact that you just kind of dove into it, it evolved into something that you didn't even know that would evolve that way.
I
You
still
just have
don't
to do
even
it.
know. Like, half the time I'm shocked when people are excited by the things that I do or that I bring about. Or so it's about going with the flow and feeling that energy and
Right.
seeing what feeds your soul. And if
Right.
it does, it will eventually
Right.
catch on.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
Yeah.
how I do it.
I love this. Okay, so can I ask you, what are you looking forward to in life? You know, there's so
I'm
much
going
you
on
have.
vacation.
Yes.
I'm going on vacation. I'm taking.
Where are you going?
As Tiffany was like, Tiffany, who's right here, was like, how is your practice going to run if you're taking time off? And I'm like, don't worry about it. You know? But we're taking the kids to the UK in a week. So that will be a lot of fun for them.
And you're Lebanese, right?
I'm Lebanese. We're not going to go to Lebanon because the situation there is a little bit on and off. And I
Right.
don't want to take the kids, you know, God forbid they close the road to the airport and we
Right.
can't get out. So we're not going to go there this summer. But we're going to go to the UK for a week together. They're so excited about the airplane. My daughter thought she was going to meet the Queen. I was like, she was a little sick, you
Mhm.
know. I don't
Right.
think I didn't have the heart to tell her that
Yeah.
that's past.
Right.
So,
That's so
but
funny.
yeah, so I'll have to talk about what a king is now. And then in August, my husband and I are, knock on wood, hopefully I don't want to jinx it, gonna go alone for a week, which will be
Oh,
very nice. It's been long overdue.
I love this for you guys.
Yeah, we used to travel a lot,
Mhm.
a lot, and then with the kids and then the pandemic, it just kind of like
Right.
we all forgot about traveling.
Right.
But we're very excited to get back on it.
I love this. So, do you get up early? Like, do you get up early and start your content and have a morning routine?
My mornings are psychotic. Like I'm usually out of the house by 7:45 and I get up around 6:15.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm, if I'm lucky and I'm awake, I'll try to record 1 or 2 videos and I'll feel super
Right.
accomplished.
Right.
Short format videos before
Right.
I leave the house.
You just pull your phone out. Do it real
Literally,
quick.
like just stick it on my mirror and try to figure out something.
Right.
It happens not that often.
Right.
And then I'm out the door. But I do end up recording usually between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Once I'm in the office and I'm kind of more settled. And then it's patient care from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then usually from 5:30 to 6:30, we try to record again
Right.
if I am around or if there's something for me to do. Or it's skincare, administrative, etc.
Yeah.
And then I'm usually home by 6:45 eating dinner with my kids. And
And-
that's when I give them an hour of my
Right.
time.
And then you edit videos.
And then I put my kids down 8 o'clock and then I partly edit or I look at what Tiffany has done and we kind of go back and forth, spend time with my husband, maybe do a pillow talk, maybe
Right.
not. You kind of figure it out.
Right.
But it's
Yeah.
not, it's a long day.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's usually 6 a.m. to like 11 p.m.
Every day.
Monday through Friday. Yeah.
Wow.
Saturday, Sunday, I become like a vegetable.
Right.
I'm like,
You're like, I'm
recharge.
Netflixing,
Yes,
I'm relaxing.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
What network was the Arnold Schwarzenegger? Was it
I think it was
Hulu?
a Netflix. Was it
Netflix?
Netflix
Oh,
or Hulu? Netflix.
Netflix?
Surprisingly, so inspiring.
I want to
Like,
watch it.
You're like, this man comes from nowhere, Austria,
Mm.
and he becomes the governor of California. You can't be a complete like
Right. You would
know,
never
sack
have
of
imagined
potatoes.
that.
No,
Yeah.
but he has so much like grit and he has so much determination.
Right.
And of course, to become a bodybuilder before he went on steroids in California, like, because he did say he took steroids in California, was like, I mean, like unbelievable,
Right.
So it was really very inspiring to hear him in his own words and how real he is about everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Aw.
Very surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
love
never been
that.
an Arnold, whatever his name is, Arnold.
I know
fan.
you want to say it wrong, but
Arnold.
I'm
I
gonna
know.
check it. It's Arnold. Yeah.
Arnold.
So okay, you are the best. I love all of your content. Thank you so much for
Thank you for
making
having
the
me.
time. If you guys have not gone on to Dr. Shireen's anything, her Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok, please go because the consistency is there. She's always responsive. Like there's so much I can learn as a makeup artist too for my clients. So yeah, can you tell us where
thank
to
you.
support you, how your handles, all the things?
So it's all pretty simple. It's at Shereene Idriss.
Mhm.
There's 4 E's in my name.
And I was like, wait.
SHEREENEIDRISS at TikTok and Instagram and YouTube.
Mhm.
And then we have our Pillow Talk Derm channel. The main one is on Instagram. We have a little side one on TikTok that we're currently trying
Really?
we're trying to work it, but like no one has given it the love that it needs.
I'm gonna follow it.
We need to figure that part
Yeah.
out. And yeah, that's where you can find me. And then at my office in Bryant Park in New York City.
Is it hard to get an appointment?
I will make it happen.
No, I'm just
somebody
asking
who
for our
knows
audience.
somebody.
Okay. People are like, I want to see it. And I'm like, I know the struggle. Living in New York is just,
I will say,
even my brow girl. I have to
listen,
book
I
a
am
month and a
very
half.
grateful.
Yeah.
You don't know where I've come from
Yeah.
and how much my schedule was really like pushed down. So it is a year wait or so now for new patients. However, I tell people just make an appointment.
Right.
The cancellation list
Exactly.
does change. People cancel, plans change. And if you have an appointment, it's easy then to take another patient and switch you around.
Right.
So people have moved up much more than they've
Just
moved
by,
down.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for making time. This was so fun.
Thank you for having me. This is a lot of fun.
Oh my God. Bye, guys.